Hello there, and welcome to another video. A couple months ago, I did a video in which I ranked the Star Wars movies. And then I did a video ranting about Cobra Kai. I enjoyed it, so I decided to rank another franchise I enjoy. Ghostbusters! The Ghostbuster franchise. Well, yeah, it's a franchise. It's got 5 movies in it, and I decided, why don't we rank them all? And let's see people get mad in the comments where I rank one film. The Ghostbuster franchise, I think we all kind of know what's going to be number one, but hey, what do I have in the middle? So, let's get started in what my opinion is the worst Ghostbusters film. And in last place, I have Ghostbusters 2. Now, this film has a little bit of like the Star Wars prequel syndrome, I think, where it seems like it's got a little bit of a following and some bit maybe some nostalgia. And look, it is technically the only sequel we got with all the 4 in it, but man, this film is just not good, in my opinion. It's doesn't quite seem to have the magic and funness of the first film, which is weird. They brought back everyone. All the main cast came back. Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis wrote the script. Ivan Reitman came back to direct it. And it just lacks everything that made the first film good. And if you've seen the honest trailer for this movie, which I think could do a better review of it than I could, they basically point out how this film is kind of a beat-by-beat replication of the first film. And like, it begins with like the Ghostbusters and everyone thinks they're frauds, and then it's them starting up again, and then, you know, Dana Barrett or Sigourney Weaver, it's something about something trying to haunt her again. Like, it's such a disappointing sequel. And look, I know this film has some defenders, and it has its moments, don't get me wrong. It's still funny at times, but again, it just, let's be real, there's a reason why we never got a Ghostbusters 3, and the truth is simply because it's just, in my opinion, not that good. Again, I didn't really grow up with it, and another thing I did notice about this film, and I don't know if you noticed, it's a lot more kiddier. Like, now, like the first Ghostbusters film, which, you know, like, it's considered an 80s kids film, even though it has, you know, smoking, casual swearing, some sexual innuendos. And this film, now look, this might have been because of how popular the movie came, the real Ghostbusters show, which I have not seen. So I think it's a lot more kiddier, there's not as much swearing, there's no smoking, there's very little sexual innuendos. It just, again, it's, in my opinion, a very disappointing follow-up to what should have been great, and I think if this film was actually any decent, we probably would have gone to Ghostbusters 3. So, I think this film is very disappointing, and, well, we're about to get to it. And number 4, we have 2016 Ghostbusters, or Lady Ghostbusters, or Ghostbusters Answer the Call. So, when this movie was announced, it literally set the whole internet on fire. You had people, you know, saying if you were supportive of it, you were going to betray the original, but then there were some who said if you hated it, you were a sexist misogynist, which was, you know, a little, you know, both sides were obviously ridiculous. And look, the premise obviously came off as a little gimmicky as, it's Ghostbusters, but they're women! The trailers were pretty terrible. I mean, the dislike ratio on it was hard, and YouTube doesn't have it anymore. And, in my opinion, this movie it's not great. It's not great. But it's not the worst thing ever created, as some may say. And I will say, look, Paul Feig, I think, is a very good comedy director. He directed a few episodes of The Office, and he also did a Bridesmaid, which is one of my favorite comedies. Kristen Wiig, another member of Bridesmaid, I think she's really funny. I like some of her stuff. Melissa McCartney, who, when she's in really good movies, she's funny. Now, the problem is she's in a lot of really bad movies. This is not one of them. Just look at the stuff she makes with her husband. Kate McKinnon, I've seen some of her stuff. I think she's funny. Didn't really care for her in this film. Leslie Jones, I think she's funny, but I thought the mad black woman stereotype they did got a little old and was like, okay, you're pushing it. And I think this is another weakness I will say for the film. The big star in this film, what's supposed to be Lady Ghostbusters, is Chris Hemsworth. Like, Chris Hemsworth is actually kind of fun. Like, he's actually kind of the star of this film. We'll say the film does have a few things going for it, like, obviously, because, not that the original effects are bad or anything, but since, I thought kind of the effects and ghost fighting scenes in this film were really good, and they were able to do, obviously, stuff that they couldn't do, 30 years ago. Is this film terrible? And, people will try to. What I think a lot of people hate about this film is how I feel like it's kind of created this whole two sides thing. Like, people have to make every film like, oh, a film with female leads bombed. It's because people hate women. They'll ignore that Barbie made over $1 billion, or, people who are like, it's woke, oh, it's trying to appeal to the far left, oh, it's, people look for stuff to whine about, and I feel like this film is kind of what led to it, and I think that's kind of the worst thing it did. Is it terrible? No, you'll watch it and be like, probably will never think about it again. And look, if you like this film, I don't think you're some crazy woke moron who betrays the original. That's totally fine. If you hate this film, I don't think you're a sexist misogynist. Both of those are, really stupid judgments. But who the heck is going to watch this over the original? Coming in third place, I have the newest Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I watched it just a couple days ago. And I was actually, pretty excited for this. I was kind of curious where they were going to take the direction of the franchise, and what they left was a film that I have mixed opinions on. I didn't hate this film. I did enjoy it. I had fun with the film. Like, I laughed a bit. Paul Rudd, glad they brought him into the franchise, because any scene with him in this film was great. But this film has, like, way too many plot lines. And I think, for example, like, you have stuff like, Phoebe, the young Ghostbuster, kind of our Egon replacement, feeling like she's treated as a child. Paul Rudd trying to be a stepdad. Ray Stantz trying to discover this ore. Winston Zeddemers coming up with new contraptions to get ghosts. Phoebe meeting a ghost. There's this magical orb. There's this one character who possesses the ability to control fire. Way, way too many. And I feel like, look, Ghostbusters Afterlife, I know a big criticism of that film was that it relied a lot on nostalgia and winks at the camera, and there were a lot of, hey, do you remember that? It's from the original. And this film, there's a lot. For example, they brought back Walter Peck, who was, if you don't remember him, he was the government agent who hated them in the first film, and I feel like they missed something with his scenes. Like, I felt like it was just literally a cameo. Like, hey, look, it's Dickless! And I'm like, dang it, I would have loved for it if Bill Murray showed up and was like, hey, Peck, you still have no dick, I see! And I don't know why I'm making dick jokes here. Anyway, so this film has way too many plot lines, and I think what also hurt is the movie's trailer and title were very misleading. Like, if you watch the teaser trailer, they show New York getting all, like, frozen, and they kind of teased you to thinking that was going to be the whole film, but then if you watch the film, that's like the last 20 minutes of it, you SpongeBob out of water to me. People who know me will get that. So, I didn't hate this film. I had fun with it, but again, there's way too many plot lines, way too many characters, and I think you could have done it. I thought the villain, which I was kind of glad they're moving away from, Gozer, obviously, and if he was maybe in the film more, I would have liked him more, and then, the fire starter character, I had nothing wrong with the actor. I giggled at a few of his scenes when he, put the armor on, and that was funny, but way too many, it's too many characters. They brought back, the friend characters from Afterlife, which I'm like, did they really need to be in this film? Again, there's just way too many storylines to handle, and I had fun with this film, but I think it did try to do a little too much. In second place, I have Ghostbusters Afterlife. It took us 32 years, but we kind of got a Ghostbusters 3. It's more of a requel or legacy sequel, but I think this is a very solid way to continue the franchise. I like the additions of Phoebe and Trevor are fine characters, and I think this movie found a great way to play a tribute to Harold Ramis, which kind of was the nail in the coffin to doing an original Ghostbusters 3, and I think this film found a way to pay tribute to him. And also, the cool thing about this film was it was directed by Jason Reitman, who is the son of Ivan Reitman, the director of the first two films. So a little bit of passing the torch here. It kind of is really a definition of passing the torch. Paul Rudd's in the film, and like I said, why is perfect in this film. He was fun, he was great. Now, the big knock I've seen a lot of people give this film is that it relies a lot on nostalgia and winks at the camera. Like, the movie's plot line is pretty similar to the villains from the first film. It's Gozer and the dogs. And, they, try to, put a lot of references, and there's a lot of, hey, remember that? But hey, is it, again, amazing? No, but it's also really cool at the end when, the three originals. Actually, I've seen one of the Ghostbuster actors. Guess which one I've seen? It's Ernie Hudson, aka Winston, or the Black Ghostbuster, as some like to call him. It was cool seeing him, Bill Murray, and Dan Aykroyd back in the suit, and I kind of view this a little bit like Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Is it perfect? Is it great all the time? No, but man, you can't. It's when they put the proton packs on in the suits and the theme song starts playing, you can't help but get a little excited. Is this a great, amazing film? No, but it's a great legacy sequel that I think found a really good way to continue on the franchise. And even as much as I had mixed feelings on Frozen Empire, I still would not mind seeing more adventures with this family. Coming in first place, however, and no shocker, is the original Ghostbusters. And this is obviously one of the all-time, great movies of the 1980s. It's up there with films that literally have defined a decade. And that really does make a film special. And it's a really amazing film. I could go on forever. The cast, Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd were still in their primes. Harold Ramis was there. Sigourney Weaver, when she was, doing it. They also had Rick Moranis, who I missed him. He was a funny actor. I hope we kind of get him back, and I know it'd be great to see him again. And this film was kind of it caught lightning in a bottle. They had, it was the right cast, obviously, the right director in Ivan Reitman. And, the characters are great. You got, Peter Venkman, who's kind of, Bill Murray's character. Kind of the funny one, Ray Stantz, who's kind of who knows everything and gets overly excited. And then Harold Ramis as Egon, who kind of takes everything, maybe a little too seriously, but it's funny with how he takes it. And then you got, Ernie Hudson and Winston Zeddemore. But heck, even his scenes are fun. Rick Moranis as Louis Tully. His scenes are, brief, but also, very funny. How he so obviously has, a crush on Dana or Sigourney Weaver. And, when he's, having the talk and trying hard, talking about how, how he tried to, distract everyone from her TV being turned on. And then heck, Sigourney Weaver, apparently how she got the audition was she apparently went on Ivan Reitman's desk and barked like a dog. Hey, she can bark like a dog. And like I said, this film is very, it's funny, it's, quotable, the scene I always actually find the funniest is when, Peter Venkman is doing, the electric shocks with the cards, and then the part where I laugh the hardest is when he goes, or, there's the one girl, he doesn't want to shock her, but he's, totally abusing the guy, and the part I always laughed is when the guy goes, you only got 75 more to go. That makes me laugh. And it's become just, iconic. The ghosts in this film, some of them are iconic, Slimer's become, this mainstay in pop culture, and he only has one scene, really, and, he was actually based on John Belushi, that's who Dan Aykroyd was going to do this movie with until he tragically passed away. And look, there were a bunch of different versions, but it kind of just, under, him, Harold Ramis, and also Ivan Reitman, and actually the visual effects were done by Richard Inland, who worked on Star Wars, and some of them definitely look a little dated, especially some of the stop motion on the dogs, but, The VFX on this film look, really good. I mean, they look better than, The Flash per se, but it's not saying much. So, I think this is a amazing film. I mean, I feel like I could be here forever talking about how great this movie is, and there's still kids dressing up as Ghostbusters for Halloween. They're even adults still. Heck, I mean, Stay Puft Marshmallows. I mean, they're not a real brand, but I feel like everyone does. Fun fact, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, that was there from the beginning in the script. So, I think this is and heck, it's an 80s kids film with, swearing, sexual innuendos. I mean, there's a scene where a ghost gives Dan Aykroyd a you-know-what job. So, I think this is a really good film. It's, got the song, which everybody knows. Even if you haven't seen the movie, you know the song. So, this is a great movie. It's become a mainstay in pop culture, and it's easy to see why. Ghostbusters 1984 is a cinematic masterpiece and is one of my all-time favorite movies. Go watch it. So that's my ranking of the Ghostbuster films. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.